This weekend, Ryan's brought a killer car. Andy finds out what's in the box, and it's Waluigi time with an N64 sports game. I'm Ryan.
I'm Andy.
And this is Weekend Rental, episode 156. All right, here we are. Damn near the end of July. What happened to summer already?
Yeah, no kidding.
It's depressing. Our kids are gonna be back in school soon.
Yeah, it's wild.
As a parent, that might be a relief. I don't know. But.
Yeah. I could see it on my kid's face that they were kind of depressed that it's half over.
And oh, yeah. You go into department stores and it's like the school supply section. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I weirdly have one of those kids that's a freak. My daughter's like so excited. She's like, she sees that. She's like, yeah, school. I'm like, how old are you, my kid? Like, she gets all excited about going to camp, though, too, which she's at this week. And I'd have been like, that would have been my nightmare as a child. But
oh, yeah.
I'm glad you have the personality and social skills to pull that off. Good for you. It'll help you in life. Yeah, it's been wild. And then unseasonably cold here. Like, this is like, it's July. This is the month where people are sweating their butts off. We're at the beach every day. You're going to the pool, and it's been like 70 at like 72 is a high, which
with some wind. I love it.
Yeah, it's granted. It's a great, comfortable temperature. I'd live all year round at that, but we only get like 90 days of nice weather. So yeah. It'd be nice if I could swim a couple of them, but granted, I mean, the people at the beach probably don't mind my farmer's tan and beer gut not showing up, but you know, gotta show it off somehow.
How are you going to tan the rest of it?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the problem, that's the real problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll just get some of that spray on stuff. It'll be fine. I'll look like an Oompa Loompa.
Get a tanning bed.
Yeah.
Add that to the arcade.
Yeah.
Garage arcade.
Maybe that's what I need to do. Just lay myself on top of some arcade cabinets while they're on. Get a good glow,
Yeah.
like
Might have to degauss your skin a little bit.
I feel like Hangly Man would be like the perfect thing, like radiate and tan you.
You just have like a maze on your stomach.
That's awesome. Well, I suppose we can get into gaming news. I was going to run off with or start off with a topic that I thought was pretty cool. So like the company that runs Evercade, I guess they run by a different handle under like the parent company. I don't know if you saw this, but they announced it 2 weeks ago, opened it up for pre-orders last Friday, but they have what they're calling the Super Pocket. It's coming out in two colors. Basically a straight like vertical Game Boy, original OG Game Boy form factor. One is going to be full of licensed Taito games, really notable ones, all the ones you'd want. The other is going to be full of licensed Capcom games. Pretty much the same list you're going to get with the Evercade EXP. But the great thing about this is like as a standalone unit, they're both retailing for $60. And I'd argue that with the built-in games, they're worth it alone. But the bonus is, and I think their ultimate plan is like, these are also fully compatible with every Evercade cart.
Oh, so it's like, that's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah. It's this really nice, already justifiable price point for something that is a great entry point into getting people into what's coming out in the Evercade. And there's a lot of good stuff coming out in the Evercade. There's a lot of good stuff already out there. So I thought this was like really smart of them to do. In fact, I really have my eye on that Taito one. And I might just buy one just because I like the games list. And then I'd also have, another form factor for the cartridges I already have. But yeah.
This doesn't accept like other like retro cartridges, right?
Not like no,
like
but
okay.
The Evercade's already pretty exploitable. I mean, there's already people selling flash cards for it and stuff anyway. So it's easy enough to like, if you did want to open it up to just like everything, there's ways to do that pretty cheaply. So
sure.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. The Super Pocket, the Taito one comes in like a greenish color. And then the Capcom, of course, comes with like a blue with yellow classic Capcom logo colors. But when you look at the games list for both, it's like Taito's got like Bubble Bobble, Liquid Kids, Operation Wolf, Volfeed, all the stuff you'd want. Capcom's the same way. It's your fighting games, your 1942s, Commando, just the heavy hitters. So
Yep.
it's pretty cool, and I think it makes a lot of sense for them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I think if you have doubters, right, like it's hard to justify like 150 or 140 for the Evercade, but when it's $60 and you can pick up a cartridge for 20,
right?
And a cartridge comes with, maybe another 6 to 12 games. It depends.
Do you think it'll be compatible with every cartridge?
They're saying it is.
Okay.
But yeah, I wonder moving forward because there's a lot of like 3D stuff, but I mean they're touting that it's fully compatible, so we'll see. Because I know like Duke Nukem and stuff is all kind of coming, and that's a pretty big one for Evercade. So
yeah,
I mean the shoulder buttons in the back, like the placement would be like I could see somewhat awkward for certain 3D games. But when you look at Evercade's lineup, those types of 3D games where like camera control and like 3D perspective is like super important, is like very limited. So a lot of it's 2D stuff.
I just had to look at a picture of this thing. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Super sleek. And again, just like the price point, the way they've been able to cut that price point down to half.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes you wonder, like, well, why did the Evercade EXP cost so much then, I guess?
Yeah,
but
well, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Basically.
I guess I would recommend if you're on the fence and you appreciate what Evercade's been doing as far as like a cartridge console. Goddamn cat. Move my freaking camera again. If you appreciate what they're doing and like putting some games that are just kind of lost to time on cartridge again, this is a great way to like get something that's already worth, I think, the initial investment and gives you options to explore that. So
yeah,
I'd recommend to most people to check it out if you're interested in this podcast. I'd imagine that's probably right up your alley.
Right.
So.
I wonder if the next thing is going to be like an Evercade 2 or something, or if they just keep, because eventually, I mean, you run out of these license things, right? Where it's like, well, but
yeah, you gotta wonder, right?
Or do they just end up with bigger licenses? The Duke Nukem one's probably pretty good get. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've talked about how the hardware now is fully capable of 3D stuff, and I mean we've seen some stuff like, there's like that I forget whatever that 64 game PlayStation 1 game was that was like rediscovered on unreleased 40 Winks. Like that stuff is on there.
Oh, okay.
So it's possible that we can start seeing some 3D stuff coming through.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
It's cool that they're making old classic games available, unlike 87% of other video games.
Say what?
Study by the Video Game History Foundation said 87% of classic games are not available. And then I had to dig a little bit deeper into that, and it's they looked at 4,000 games, which is not a lot when you're talking about like when you're talking about Commodore games and stuff like that. Who even knows how much of that shit is even gone?
The number is probably like 98% is more realistic, right?
Right.
Because their definition was you still couldn't readily attain it through any digital or physical, like new sales means, right?
Right. You couldn't just choose to buy one today. Yeah.
Right. Which makes sense. I mean, that wipes out the vast majority of cartridge libraries. I mean, that's a lot of the early PlayStation stuff, Dreamcast stuff is gone.
Yep.
So, yeah, it is shocking. It was a little doomsday-ish though. Like they're just off the face of the planet. Well, that's not true. They're there. It's just like, are you willing to pirate them or buy like a 100,001 in game console from Alibaba? You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no money going back to the creators. And
right.
Honestly, what percentage of it can you even could they even bring back legally anyway? Because I mean, some of that stuff is just like the rights and stuff are just tied up into something that you could never possibly.
Oh yeah,
take $1 for it again.
Well, I mean, yeah. Perfect example is the Xbox and their backward compatibility woes for 3 generations now. It's not like they couldn't have brought a lot of those games over, but like, are you really going to renegotiate the rights for like some weird Rugrats game? You know what I mean? Like, of course not. It's not worth it.
I've never understood that. Like, there's got to be something that as soon as it becomes like a digital item on like a hard drive or something, like if you're copying some files over, it must be different rights.
Yeah.
Because like Nintendo didn't give that shit. They're just like, it's backward compatible, They didn't have to go back and, get all these rights for all these old games, but it just seemed like Xbox had to.
Right. Maybe it's because they're playing with like bigger IPs or something, or
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. But I don't know. Like you said, it's a little doomsday thing, but on the other hand, it's kind of shocking how video games are treated differently than other mediums. Libraries, for example, many libraries just do not take them.
Right.
I don't know if they can even legally take them. There's like some laws against that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that shock value is to serve their needs of where they've been very adamant for years of like, we want to work with devs and we will hold your source code.
Yep.
It's like, well, that's admirable, but also you have to understand why these businesses would not want to do that.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's not like, Warner Brothers gives their masters over to like Congress, that doesn't happen,
Yeah, not too much. Whereas, the original, a reel of a movie or something might be in the Library of Congress, which is kind of the source code of a movie. But yeah, it is kind of weird. It's different in that way, but at the same time, most of those guys probably have a GitHub repo with that shit on it too. So Microsoft could just be like, hey, let's peek in there for 1 second.
It's true.
Break the law.
And it's gone.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big deal. I mean, it's at least justification to like be a little more cognizant of it. And like, yeah, we have an industry that's still kind of like, I hate to even call the video game industry that young anymore, because we are like celebrating the Famicom's 40th anniversary. And it's not like the Famicom was the first console ever, we're 50 years into this and we're hundreds of years into other forms of media preservation. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to kind of come together on some of this, but for whatever reason, well, money and stockholder interest is the reason that we just can't, and it sucks.
Yeah. There's a big difference between, just handing over a movie or something compared to,
Yeah. Yeah, and so much of it's already lost permanently at a time that kind of blows.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've talked about, I think on this podcast, even like Panzer Dragoon Saga, like the guaranteed $1 billion hit for Sega, but it hasn't been ported or remastered because they don't have the source code. Like, how do you not have the source code?
It's just gone.
Good Lord, the thing would print cash for them.
Yep. Yeah, that would be a hell of a get if they could just hire the original guy and be like, do it again.
The thing is like, I don't get why they don't just like ROM dump the original game and then just really work with somebody to like produce an fully highly tweaked engine. You know what I mean? Like, like what people do with the Switch right now, right? Like people like throw it on their high-end PCs and play Tears of the Kingdom in 4K. Like, even if that's all they did, it still makes so much money.
Yeah.
And put like some, behind the scenes, like art and shit, like bonus content. It's bizarre to me that, again, that's held in the same regard as like Final Fantasy VII is. God, my cat is just fucking with my camera.
I think if you re-released it, a lot of people would be like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So have you played it?
Not really, no.
I mean, you've got the first 2 discs.
The 3, I have the first 3.
Oh my god! So you can play like 75%.
I could play a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah,
but I it's interesting, but I don't know. I don't know if I could go back now anyway, because I've soured a lot on RPGs. I'm actually worried about how Mario RPG is going to be when I buy that. If I'm just going to be like, this freaking sucks,
Yeah,
but
yeah, when we've just released the latest Final Fantasy and like nobody's talking about it, and
yeah,
I've heard like it's basically an action game.
No interest in that, really. Yeah, even the Final Fantasy 7 stuff I've never played. I haven't even played that remake stuff. So
yeah. All cases for preservation. Like, love it, hate it, whatever. It shouldn't be lost to time. So,
meanwhile, we're a year from now, we're probably seeing all of the big releases maybe being digital only. I think wasn't it Alan Wake 2? This is going to be digital only. There's a few bigger profile games that are just, that's the way it's going to be.
So Limited Run is over there like, yeah, we can release these in 10 years, but we'll take your money now.
Hey, they're doing their part of preservation too now.
Are they?
Yeah. If Dana Gould is, I want high quality samples of Dana Gould in these Gex remasters that they're seemingly putting out.
All of the Gex?
The Gex trilogy.
All through Limited Run?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm not playing any of them, so that's cool.
I think they're coming to PC, though. That's interesting, I think, that they're making these games and putting them out in a format that might be not ridiculous.
I mean, the Gex trilogy was pretty big. Like the first Gex game, a lot of people forgot about because it came like so early, but those 3D games, those were pretty popular, especially on non-Nintendo software, which is where like I feel like they had the most steam was like PlayStation, right? Like competing against Mario 64 at the time.
I remember playing them on 64.
Do you? You played them on 64 even? Weird. Yeah.
And the parodies that he would,
right.
The levels of the parodies were always pretty good.
I still remember that EGM cover that got them in hot water with what's her butt with her tits out and Gex like grabbing the boobies. Like I still got it in my collection somewhere. No, it wasn't EGM. It was PlayStation Magazine is what it was. And yeah, I liked that cover when I was a kid. I don't know what it was. I think it was Gex. He was very well animated.
It rhymes with another thing that triggers something in my brain.
I hadn't even thought of that. That's weird. Yeah. No, they were very solid games. They had good cameras for early 3D games.
Yep.
It's just, yeah, for whatever reason, like it died off before. Like you think about that, like there was the potential for Gex to spin off to the next console gen, like Crash did. I mean, Crash didn't do as well as it ever did on the first console.
Sure, but at least one of them would have been cool.
Yeah.
I think he suffers a little bit from Bubsy-itis, where you hear a lot of the same quote over and over, but
yeah. So it's going to be a one package, like all 3.
That I'm not sure of. I would hope. Well,
hopefully
it's Limited Run here.
Speaking of that, I saw that. Well, I'm just going to jump in between. I know you got somewhere else to transition to, but I saw that Pikmin 1 and 2 are actually getting a physical release too for the Switch.
That's cool.
I think I'm gonna have to buy that because like the ability to own all 4 games on one console would be.
That's insane. Yeah.
But the other part
that's too much. That's too much Pikmin, I would say.
For one console, I agree. Like that's a one game console generation, although we're getting 2 now. But so the other part of your remaster thing that I thought was interesting was the Tomba one, which we talked a little bit before. And Tomba is a very cool, like pseudo 3D platformer from the PlayStation era that a lot of people missed out on and is now super expensive. But it's basically like the equivalent of like a side-scrolling pseudo 3D Zelda, like in its quest structure and like exploration. Like it's very Zelda-ish, even though it doesn't quite look like it.
Right. Very colorful.
Yes.
That's one cool part. And 2D, like you said, that's was not. It's probably why it didn't sell well on the PlayStation. But
right. Yeah, 2D side scrolling with 3D sprites, the ability to run in and out of foreground though to kind of give you like a pseudo 3D feel, which is neat. Yeah, just totally bonkers. You play like a primitive caveman dipshit who just like runs around and like bites vines and pigs and whatever else he finds. So
yeah, that might be the one to get, I think, out of all these.
Is that limited run also or no?
Yep. They have some engine that they've built that converts all this stuff pretty well.
So Frank Spaldi's been using his powers for evil.
I don't know.
What you're telling me.
I know they're making Croc too. They're bringing the Croc games too, which is
Croc deserves it, but like fuck limited run.
Yeah,
I hate their business model.
Yep.
I'd rather not, to be honest. Like I will not own the physical versions of these. I guess I'll get digital, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't even want to do that if it's their thing. I'll just steal the original ROMs and play them. I guess that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Release dates on any of it?
I don't know. Who knows? My guess is they're going to be all aboard all these Star Wars things too, because they seemingly had the license to all the Star Wars stuff. So I'm sure they're going to barrage the whole PlayStation 1 lineup of PS1 games. Can't wait for the Masters of Terrascasi. Whatever.
I was going to say, I don't remember any of the PlayStation 1 games being good for Star Wars. I know the Phantom Menace one sold really well because it was like a hot IP, but remember the review scores were like, yeah, this is dirt.
What's the Twisted Metal one?
Oh, Demolition something. I own it for Dreamcast.
Yeah,
It's supposed to not be great.
Yeah. I think that one came later. That one's probably not PlayStation.
Well, no, I think it had a PlayStation release also.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, I think it was both. So,
yeah. Speaking, you want to talk about? Have you seen the new Twisted Metal trailer?
Do we want to talk about that?
It looks.
I've seen all the trailers. They all look terrible.
What?
I don't get it. And I've heard like they voiced over Sweet Tooth, like he was like acted out in the show, but then they hired like a pro wrestler to like voice over him.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the dude looks like a pro wrestler too.
100%.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it looks like a show I don't need to see based on a property I haven't cared about in a long time.
Yep.
I'm not sure how much money they spent on that license, but it was too much.
Mm-hmm. I was interested because of like, what do you do with that? And I feel like they did not do the right thing.
Nope, they didn't.
I don't know what the correct answer is. I just know what I'm looking at was not.
Yeah, I think what they should have done would have been like Twisted Metal Chronicles, a Sweet Tooth story. You know, like that would have made more sense. Like,
yeah,
you're following a homicidal, like psychopath, bipolar,
or how he got to become that, or
yeah. But like, it seems like they were hell bent on like the world, and like it does not look good.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's weird.
Yeah, what is that on? Is it Max?
Peacock.
Peacock.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Peacock's the thing that makes it even weirder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can understand Max or Paramount even, but really Peacock? Yeah. I did see, well, since we're talking about like streaming services, that Xbox finally announced that Xbox Live Gold is done. It's phased out in September, which means that Games for Gold is also done. Strangely, you need to continue your subscriptions of some tier of Game Pass to maintain all your Xbox One content, but it sounds like everything Xbox 360 content you got through Xbox Live Gold is just free forever for you.
Oh, okay.
So, yay? I don't know.
I was trying to discern that stuff too, because so the new thing is Xbox Game Pass Core.
Yeah. 25 games included base level to shift and grow to some extent. So it's just like stick your toe in the water for Game Pass Ultimate, right?
Right. Yeah, it's
probably a better deal.
But there's 3 tiers now because you got the regular.
Yep.
You got Core, you got regular, and then Ultimate.
Yep.
And from what I understand, if you want to play online, you have to buy Core and and you want Game Pass, you have to buy Core and regular.
No, I think Game Pass Core also comes with online play.
The Core does, but I don't think regular Game Pass comes with the online play. I might be wrong on that, but
I was gonna say, I was like, why would they give it to Core but not regular?
I think it's Ultimate.
So you're saying there's like an offline version where you can't play online, but they would let you have access to all the games? Right. So who's gonna buy that tier?
That was the regular Game Pass, because before I buy Ultimate, I had to have Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass.
Well, it converted it, right? It like upped your subscription, I thought.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the charts again.
Yeah, I know. There are 3 tiers.
When it first came out, I had to have Live and I had to have Gold and Game Pass.
I mean, Game Pass Ultimate's the way to go for $16 a month, right?
Right.
Because you're getting everything plus access to stuff on PC, cloud, and your consoles. There's like no reason not to do that because it's $6 more a month than just the core. But it's kind of like you could tell they've been trying to phase out Xbox Live Gold for like many years now.
Yeah. It seems like the Games for Gold selection has always been the last 3 years have been like
shit.
Oh shit, the last day of the month or something. We have to come up with something.
Yeah, it's been pretty sad. So I guess it makes sense. It doesn't impact me. We're both Game Pass Ultimate advocates. So
yeah,
I think it's probably one of the best streaming things you can get per month if you don't want to throw bunches of money at games. So I will say it's been a little lackluster lately with new and leaving, but I think we are closer than ever to that Activision deal. I think all but like maybe some people in Japan or a couple people in China might be a little hesitant. So I think the US signed off, which means the UK will probably back down, minus some caveats that they might sign for cloud stuff, which in theory then means that we're going to get all the Blizzard, all the Activision, all the Microsoft in our Game Pass.
Do you think they'll keep that separate? Because the way that Bethesda,
they better not.
I hope.
I want Diablo 4 by fall for free, with Game Pass.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then as part of that, it seems like Sony finally realized they were probably not going to get their way in blocking this. So they signed a new deal with Activision for 10-year extension of their Call of Duty deal, which hats off. You've secured Call of Duty, which has been on a decline for 10 years now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sure it'll still be one of the top selling games 10 years from now or something.
Sure.
But I just don't. To make it the big deal it was.
Yeah, maybe instead of signing an exclusivity deal, you pour, $1 billion into creating your next killer IP exclusive for your console that comes out in 5 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you have the time and the resources to make the thing that shuts Call of Duty down. And
apparently they're not afraid to spend money on it when you look at like what they spent on Last of Us 2. That was a lot of money on that game.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll dump money into their original IPs. Even stuff like last gens, like Days Gone. They spent a ton of money on that game, and that didn't even nearly recoup.
No.
Shit. So yeah, like we're kind of in this weird spot where it's like, is he going to go through? What does that mean for Xbox fans and Game Pass fans? And then, I mean, what does it mean? I don't know what it means for Sony, because I think Sony's like, if we look 3 years ahead, I think Sony's in the best position. And like we've talked about, I still feel like even with this acquisition, what is Microsoft bringing?
Yeah, when I thought about this, like selfishly, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to see these games on Game Pass.
Right.
I know in the long run, it's probably bad for for us, the consumer, but in the short term, you would think it would be good. But then I really thought about it. Diablo, I want to play that, but outside of that, I can't think of too many Activision stuff where I'm like, oh.
I mean, if I was getting the Call of Duty game every year for free, I would definitely install it and play some multiplayer for a little bit and then like drop off. But yeah,
but like, what are you getting in that isn't in
anything else?
That doesn't. Right. Well, Warzone is free, right?
Yeah, Warzone's a different beast though.
A little bit, but it's got the same engine and feel, right? No.
Yeah, but like the whole round per, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's different. I mean, it is. Yeah. The feel, it's the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's still such a weird time too, because God, we're so far into this console generation and it's just been so underwhelming. I'm not even excited about what's coming out on PlayStation 5 and Xbox. I'm more just like, what's Nintendo gonna do next?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, which is odd because it's never the feeling, but that's where I'm at. So
yeah, it is weird because like even the stuff that they are announcing just does not seem like it's big or grand or anything in that scope. Like the Xbox stuff is like they got Forza this year in Starfield, which Starfield
has the potential.
It's a beast, but that's a once in a decade game from those guys. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I don't know what PlayStation's got. There's probably something I should be aware of, but I'm not sure.
I feel like did they have like any type of E3 thing? I don't really know.
I'm so disconnected from
PlayStation remember
right now. Yeah. Which again, bonkers, because loved PS4, hated Xbox One. Here I am with the series because Game Pass is a good deal. And if you have machines at home that already run it, you're kind of stupid not to have it. So,
yep.
But at the same time, fair, like I'm not, there's been no exclusives that I can think of on PlayStation that are worth me buying that.
Yeah. There's been no big Xbox games, to be fair, that I've been like, oh, this has been totally worth it either.
No, 100%.
I mean, Halo is like the only one, and I've not even played it.
Yeah. I mean, I started it, put it down for that co-op that they promised, and now that they're like, nope, we're never adding co-op. I'm like, well, I'm never finishing first Halo game in the series that I'm not gonna finish. So thanks very much. Wow. Yep. Fucks. It's weird times.
If they put a Slim out, if they put just a normal looking PlayStation Slim out, I'll buy it. that's my deal to you, Sony.
It's got to drop $200. I need a $200 price point drop.
That's what. Did you see? That's what they're going to price that little streaming thing at. It was like $250 or something.
Dude, that's going to crash and burn so hard. They're so stupid for even trying that. Typical Sony, like, we're going to invent something that we're not going to support and it'll disappear.
Yeah.
It'll be worth probably like 3 times what the street value is in like 3 years.
I feel like the PSVR is dead already, and it's been half a year at most since I launched.
Yeah. My son actually got all excited. He saw one at the store the other day. He's like, PlayStation VR 2. I'm like, what are you going to play on it, son? We got the things that already do it. I'm like, sorry. Not going to help. Yeah, it's been a big thing around our house. They got back into the Quest. So we're playing like Gorilla Tag and Vacation Simulator, and it's been quite the hit for now. And then they'll forget about it and we'll dust it off in 2 more years. But yeah.
I want to get one of those, but I just feel like, do I wait for the next one They don't really have a Quest 3 coming out, I don't think.
I thought they announced a successor to the 2, but maybe I'm wrong.
They have the Pro thing, which I'm not really
that might be
interested in, but
yeah. I'd say look for a cheap like first version and then just buy that and today. It's a good experience, but it's not like if you've got PlayStation VR, you've pretty much experienced it already. So
right.
Yeah.
I did play I did boot that back up though.
Did you?
I picked up Puzzle Bobble 3D.
Yep.
That's good for 20 minutes.
I bought that on one of the VR consoles. I have no idea which one. I have like probably 20 games for PlayStation VR that I bought that I've never loaded or played.
Yeah.
And it's probably about the same for the Quest. So I think I bought it for the Quest. Maybe my kids played it. So not what you're hoping for?
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's not accurate enough for where you want to pinpoint
kind of a problem that
your
sort
shots.
Of game.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, what about this cat in a box or cat in the box thing?
Okay, we're entering board game corner again.
Oh, board game. Okay, we're going down there.
This is a card game, cat in the box. It's a trick taking game in the vein of like Whist and those type of games where you play a card, the highest one wins, but then there's a trump suit, right?
Okay.
The twist on this game is it's themed like Schrodinger's cat, where you don't know what it is until it's out there invisible. So this game is, you're basically, when you play the card, you announce what suit it is. So there's, when you play it, you say this is probably a blue 4 or something, which they go by colors. It's just 4 colors, same as normal suits, but then you track on a board like what's been played. And the genius thing about this is that if there's 4 players, there's 5 versions of the card. So there's 5 of each card.
Okay.
But obviously only 4 can exist and 4 can be played, because that's only what exists in a deck of cards or whatever. And if you get caught in a spot where all of the 2s have been played and you have a 2 in your hand, you basically create a paradox to end the round, and all the tricks that you took go negative to you. So it's really messed up. Like you could be, and you have to like bet on how many tricks that you're going to take in the round.
Okay.
And if you guess right, you get bonus points and stuff like that. So it's wild. There's some really wild swings in it, because you feel like you're doing really good, and then somebody really messes with the board, and then you can't play, and then all the tricks that you took are now negative. So it's really kind of a mind bender, and I'm not exactly sure I have a strategy yet on how to play it, but it's kind of weird to think about that, playing trick taking game. But
so then at the end, whoever has the most positive trick total wins. Is that?
Yep, you get points. You get a point for each trick that you take. And then where you track what cards have been played, you put down a little piece that says, this is your piece.
Okay.
If you bet the right amount of tricks that you actually ended up with, you can count how many of those that you got in a row on the board. So there's some strategy on what cards you're playing to get your piece on the tracking board. And then you get bonus points for how many you get in a row on there as well.
Yeah, it sounds like a crapshoot, because like it's also dependent on like what somebody else is throwing out. Like,
yeah, I think we only made one round where somebody didn't bust, basically, where it was just like we're able to play all our cards.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's kind of a cool twist on that, I guess.
Was this continuing with like Target's massive clearances?
No, I bought this on, I think this was a Prime Day deal.
Okay.
I bought it on, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, Cat in the Box. It's just a simple card game.
Sounds pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, cats belong in boxes. I mean,
yeah.
They're just assholes.
Are they dead? Are they alive? Who cares?
They're right. Throw them in the lake.
They're not a problem right now.
Yeah. It's all right. Just never open the box. You'll never have to find out.
What cat?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the only other thing I had was Find a Way Home, which is, I guess if you've listened to this podcast, it should be no shock to you that I'm a punk rock fan. And I'd say probably one of my favorite bands of all time, especially in the genre, is MXPX. And they announced that their newest album, the last one was out in 2018. It's going to be out on August 25th. It's going to be called Find a Way Home. They're self-releasing again, which I don't think is a bad thing because I think their 2018 self-titled album is among their top 3 albums in their entire career. They've been going for 31 years now. So I'm pretty pumped for this. If you're listening to this podcast, it'll come out either, I guess we'll drop it on somewhere around Friday or Saturday time frame. But the 21st is Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard. They are going to do pre-orders. It looks like they've got vinyl, CDs, merch in hand. So this is like to get stuff shipped to people release day. So I'm pretty excited. So I'm going to be trying to jump on there and grab at least a couple of the more exclusive variants of the vinyl. They have yet to release a single. They've teased a couple songs in their promo stuff, but there's no official single for an album that's coming out in a month, which is weird.
What complete genre change? That would be pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they doubled down on, like, from the bits I've heard, it sounds like it's just straight fast skate punk, which is kind of like what they've really gotten into their last few years, especially their last album. And I mean, Mike writes some of the catchiest and best hooks in punk rock as far as I'm concerned. So I am very excited. And it sounds like they're gearing up for a big 2024 as far as tours go, which I don't know if anyone's a fan of the band like I am, but basically they went from like losing their record label to not existing kind of to getting back together. And they've only been a weekend warrior band, I'd say, for maybe the last 10 years for sure, which means they play only
never here.
Right. Yeah. They only play weekend dates, larger markets. It's never anywhere I could get to them. It's fly out only options for me for the most part. So I'm hoping they're going to be close. So whether it's, I guess, Denver, Minneapolis, or Sioux Falls, potentially, I doubt it.
Maybe.
But I'm hoping they'll have a tour date that I can go catch them at, because I haven't seen them in years and I would love to. So, and I think they're better than ever. I think they're a great band. I think a lot of people dismissed them very early on, even if you're a punk fan, because of their Christian roots. But I think you're wrong to do that. And they've got a great catalog of songs. So I'm pretty excited about this one.
That's cool. The only thing about that, so a new record comes out, and you somewhat recently got like a very expensive box set.
Yes. Which they left room for one more album in.
Okay. Yes. That's good.
To which I did call his podcast, because he has a like call me, ask questions. And I was like, are you going to sell a variant that matches the slip cover, like, and then like dual splatter color of your box set? And he's like, no, but that's a good idea. I was like, goddamn right, it's a good idea. It's like, I want it in there and I want it to match. But yeah, so technically I have room for another album, but who's to say, to your point, that this is even their last? Even if I get their 11th album in there, what about 12? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So gonna have to just keep adding things to the back of it.
Yeah, I do think it's incredible, though, that as a independent DIY band, they were able to secure the rights to republish all 10 of their prior albums, considering they were a major label for about half of them. The fact that they got those rights back is kind of crazy. Because, it's just like 4 dudes, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you have to buy some of them or make like deals on like, here's what you get at the cut, and cannot be easy.
It's a lot of betting on yourself again, I'm sure.
100%, which they did to a great degree of success because those all sold out in like an hour. So, yeah. So I'm pumped. Yeah, I'm really curious on a single, but I'm sure I'll like it. I mean, they've done nothing but put out singles. They put out like 5 or 6 singles since their last album, throughout the pandemic and everything, and all of those have been just great songs. So
yeah,
I have no doubt that this will be another set of good songs. So
yeah. I hope they get somewhere close because
yeah,
be good to see.
I would love to go see them live. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. On to staff picks.
Well, you got a Sonic thing we got to talk about. You're the Sonic guy. No, you're the Sonic guy. We have to talk about this.
My son was very excited that Sonic Prime Season 2 came out.
Yeah.
And I did not watch basically the first season of Sonic Prime. I caught bits and pieces of it. So just diving right into Season 2, it's kind of wild what's going on in that. Okay. It's funny that in the last 5 years I've watched a lot of Sonic Boom,
which I think is a very good show.
It's amazing. I think it's a great comedic show. There is nothing going on. There's like no stakes in Sonic Boom. There's like it's hardly a show.
Oh, okay.
They're all like living on an island or whatever. But Sonic Prime, they ramp it up and they try to make it the most serious action thing possible. There is some comedy stuff in there, but they try and really, say these are the characters, this is what's happening. And I gotta say, there's some good action scenes for an animated thing. They actually animate how a Sonic fight might look in real time. It looks pretty good. The true face-off between, I watched Sonic fight Shadow.
But is that what you want? Or do you want jokes about chili dogs?
I want to know the bearings in those roller skates that Shadow has, because those things. What ABEC rating are those bearings in that?
Dude, he's so muscular. It's probably just metal on metal. He just forces through. Those echidna calves of his.
Yeah, the way they it's just funny that they are stuck to that. Once you make one style, it's like, well, you're stuck to that. Although in this one, Amy Rose kind of becomes a little tribal or something like that, and she's kind of Amazonian.
Sure.
And in this first episode, she finds a hammer out in the woods, and it's like, oh yeah, I stood up and clapped. I clapped. Yep, cried a little bit. Be like, they're the origin story in this other world. These aren't like, there's something, they're like different dimension versions or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, like that was kind of maybe the refreshing part about Boom was that like for once they just like threw out like the game narratives and like everyone was kind of a team, like Knuckles, Tails, everybody was like, yeah, we're the good guys, even though we like kind of piss each other off. Where it's like, it sucks to do a new animated series. Like, no, Knuckles is the bad guy again. It's like, well, if you watch the canon stuff, I mean, I guess we did just get a Sonic 2 movie, but like Knuckles has been kind of the good guy for quite a while.
Yeah. It's this show has like Robotnik in like 5 different stages of his life. There's a baby Robotnik. It's really weird. Teenage Robotnik, but yeah, I think I prefer
Sonic.
Sonic.
Commit to any one thing, huh?
Yeah, there's a story there. I can't state exactly how it all came together, but some of it's really weird.
Is this Hulu?
This is Netflix. So a Netflix made show.
Huh.
So there's got to be some money behind it, and it's probably going to be canceled after this year, I'd imagine.
Yeah, usually the 2-season curse is,
especially with strikes going on right now. I think animators are on strike, I want to say, but who isn't?
Yeah, that's true. Everything's getting canceled. Huh. Well, staff picks then.
Mm-hmm.
Which you might as well kick it off. I'll let you go.
Yeah. So mine came from, this is an extension from last week where I booted up a game for about an hour and a half or so right before the podcast called Arcade Paradise, where your father gives you a laundromat to take care of and grow as a business. It's basically just kind of like, we're going to shove you in the corner to keep you busy type thing and teach you how business works. But you are more interested in the arcade games that are in the back, and then you slowly try to build up the arcade section of it. I played a lot of that game in the last 2 weeks.
What's a lot?
Probably 20 hours.
Damn.
Yeah.
You know, there's a new Zelda game to beat, right?
I know. It somehow overtook that in a crazy way.
Wow.
And it's just one of those games where you're simulating a day in the life of this, simulation, and then the day ends, and then it's like, oh yeah, well, I had unfinished business over there. It's like any of those type of simulation games. What's interesting about this is I was wondering the last time how far I would have to go with the laundry side of it, because you do have to do people's laundry to make some money to, grow your arcade. It was only maybe a few hours in, and I was just like, yep, no more laundry. I'm just doing arcades.
Nice.
What I discovered was that there is a certain amount of goals for each arcade game. And the more you beat those goals of the arcade game, then the popularity increases and you make more money.
Okay.
On each of those games. So it's fun to go around your arcade trying to play all these different games. And holy shit, they have probably 50 games that you can end up getting, and they're all like copies of
something.
Something, yes. There's an Arkanoid clone called Barkanoid, where it's a wiener dog, and it's the tennis ball that you're bouncing up and down.
Yeah.
There's an outrun game basically where and that's the fun part about some of these games, where like the shooters and the outrun and all this stuff. If somebody who knows these games, it's like, oh yeah, this is cool how they like riffed on this,
Right.
Where a lot of people probably don't know. If they've never played the game, they're not going to get the reference. But a lot of those games also have progression where, like Outrun, when you're done, you lose time or whatever, you get a certain amount of credits that you earned. Then you can use those credits to upgrade your car. So as you go along, you're stronger and stronger. And then my whole family got into it and, found certain games in the arcade that they just really love.
So now you guys are competing for high scores in arcade games inside of a game.
Inside of a game. There is there's even Inception beyond that. There is a Streets of Rage knockoff. I think it's called like Knuckles and Knees or something like that. So you go into Knuckles and Knees, and eventually, as you're, beating people up down the street, you come across your arcade in the game.
Oh.
You walk into that, and there's miniature arcade games in there. So all of a sudden, you're playing like the Nokia Snake game in your arcade, in an arcade game in your arcade.
Oh man, I love it. This is on Game Pass, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
It almost every game, there's a lack of fighting games. Like they really didn't get into Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but other than that, I
suppose if you're gonna do a one-person experience, it's gonna dead end, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of these games are multiplayer too, so you can just load up. Yep, and you can get 2 players going in them. Dude, they're not like extremely deep, but a lot of them are straight up clones of really popular games. So
dude, that's awesome.
And then you have pool and air hockey and all that stuff in there too. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and the story's good too. Your dad's basically a piece of shit who says like you fucked me over, and you ruined this whole thing, and then you basically have to say no, you're wrong, Dad, and
video games eventually, the future.
Yep. Eventually, there is no more laundry. You've destroyed, you've knocked down all the walls. It's a whole arcade.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's one of probably the biggest driver of how I spent so much time into it, because the feedback loop is only a couple days before you are able to get the next section of your arcade. So it was like I was interested in be like, what part am I adding on to this? And then it opens up a whole other section of new games that you can buy.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, there's Puzzle Bobble in there. There's just it's all over the place. It's amazing.
I gotta check it out after Zelda. Yep. Hopefully it's still on Game Pass.
Yep. Just do the laundry for a little while and then just ditch it. How about you?
Sorry for the yawning. I was gonna go with The Car, which is a movie I watched, I don't know, the last couple months. 1977 horror film with a car possessed by a demonic spirit, and they don't waste a whole lot of time with narrative or backstory. It's just a car that kills people, and it starts off with a couple kids on a bike and escalates to hippies and sheriffs and kids, and it's pretty sweet.
So what's the origin of the demonic car? Do they really get into it, or it's just just a car that
it's just a kind of central. It's kind of central around this sheriff character, and it kind of just goes from there, where it's like, we had this report of this kids being hit on bikes, and there's a body, and blah blah blah, and then they think it's like a psychopath, like murderer. And they just kind of realize throughout the course of this film that it's not, and like the car just like has a mind of its own. At least the main actor, which is James Brolin, which I should mention, like he was kind of big back then. And yeah, it's like 77, so there's like some really campy acting, and like there's like a really cheeky bedroom scene with him and his girlfriend, and like his kids, who his wife is dead or divorced, like listening outside the door. It's kind of fucked up. There's just some like blatant racism with Native American cast. I don't know. There's just a lot of like time and place things that make this like a very like, like that's how things used to be sort of movie. And it's kind of cool because it's like, it doesn't like, I like the fact that it has no backstory. It's just like straight up, this car is here to kill people, and that's what it does, and that's all we need. And then it's like 2 hours of that, and it's awesome.
Was this like
I don't even remember exactly the catalyst for how it ends. Like I know it like dies in some horrible fiery explosion, but like it doesn't really matter because like the whole thing is just like so campy and stupid and cringy that like it's great.
Yep. Huh. Stephen King watched this and he's like, I have some ideas.
Right, 100%. Like, and that's the thing is like, how many movies have you seen since this? Like that are all kind of this. But I like the simplicity of this one, where it's just like,
no, it's just immediately. Yep.
It shows up on screen, no prompt. Like, we'll look into it, Chief. And then like bodies are turning up all over the place. It's great. Highly recommend.
Was this a Svengoolie special then?
It was, of course. Yeah. I would have. The thing is, like, I watched a lot of these Svengoolie movies, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I saw at least parts of this on cable back in the day.
Sure.
And this is one where I was like, I think I've seen this, or at least pieces of it, and yeah, it's great. Like, it was one of the better ones he's shown in many months. So,
I mean, you could boil it all down to a smaller section of the car, like a tire that would.
Okay, nope, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole. Needs to be the entire car. Otherwise, I'm out. So the car, 1977. I'm not going to say it does anything that anybody else, any of these other like vehicular manslaughter movies haven't done. But I think
is it a cool car?
Yeah. So it's like 77. So it's like a big beast wagon of a vehicle. I don't even know what kind of car it is. It's like it's probably like a standard model car, but it almost looks like they like over exaggerated the front end to make it seem like more beastly. And it's just flat black, tinted windows. And yeah, like just the straight on murder with like the full on camp is perfect.
Yep.
Plus simpler times, like when you couldn't just like hop on your cell phone and like call your friend that, hey, there's this weird car following me around.
Yeah.
You know, it's like movies that just could not exist. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, that sounds good. I've not seen, so I've seen like Maximum Overdrive, but I've not seen what's the main one that is the other car.
Yeah, the Stephen King one, right?
Yeah, I forget what the name of that thing is, but
it's on, I mean, it's in that vein.
Yep.
But definitely, because like, yeah, this one, I'd put this one above that one. I can't remember what the Stephen King one was. But then there's like, I would even say like stuff like Joyride and things like that. Or there's another one called like The Duel, I think, that came out later where it's like a deranged semi-driver. But there's just something about So Stupid, like.
Oh, that's a Stephen King movie too.
Okay.
I have seen that one. That one's
pretty intense weird. Also.
Yeah.
Not nearly as good, but intense.
Or maybe a Spielberg. I forget who did that one. It's somebody famous, was like their first movie.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I recommend. But time for a weekend rental. So
yeah.
I get it's gonna be a short conversation, but basically, if you're new to the podcast, the weekend rental is the game we pick for a given system. We both play it. We'll give our opinions on whether we'd personally rather buy, rent, or burn the game. And by burn, we mean set it on fire. The game this time is Mario Kart, or not Mario Kart, Mario Tennis. Mario Kart would have been so much better. Mario Tennis, the OG Mario Tennis for the ill-gotten Nintendo 64.
We picked our least favorite genre on our least favorite console, so
correct.
Let's go for this.
Mostly because it just fits the time constraint to what we do here from a week-to-week basis. And boy, they made a game about tennis with Nintendo characters. They did. Yeah,
and you know, I've played newer versions of this since. And I thought, this is it. This is all that's in this game. And then I go back to this game and I see the progress that's been made through the years.
Strategy, you say? No, you have a hard and a light swing. And you can do left and right. How's that for strategy?
Yep. And some of the power and the aiming just seems like it's random sometimes, where I feel like you can go out of bounds, and then the next time you won't on the same exact shot.
Right. And sometimes you'll get like a slight hook in your shot. And I don't know if that's because of the way it comes off of the serve. I don't know, but
there must be some major simulation code going on in this.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's got everybody you'd want, like from the roster, like all the goodies, all the baddies. Like it's fun to play as like Boo and Koopa and like, but
and the star of the show,
on Andy's screen, Waluigi.
This is his debut. This where he came from. They
said detracts from this overall game.
They wanted Wario in this game, and they're like, shit, tennis, we're doing doubles in tennis. We need somebody who goes with Wario.
And I like how there's like, you know, a million characters that get pulled from. They're like, no, we'll invent the worst doppelganger of all time.
Is there a Wah-Peach yet?
Probably. I mean, at least in
I don't
Hentai,
know.
There's a Wah-Peach.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. It's I think it's a game that only exists on the 64 in the sense that like a lot of these sort of games like got console releases on the 64, and that was because nobody was publishing on the N64. The console was hurting, so Nintendo reached out to a bunch of these other like devs and had them making things like Mario Tennis and Mario Golf, you know, things that probably wouldn't have shown up on traditional consoles, and they've stuck around. I mean, there's that part of it for the most part, but This is definitely just a bare bones. Like, let's get something out there that has Mario on it.
Yep.
Because we're hurting with our release schedule. You know what I mean?
Yep. I will say for one of the first 4-player consoles, tennis is a great fit for that.
Sure.
Tennis is a good game, and I could see if you had 4 people playing this game, you could probably play a few hours of it and have a good time just in the base tennis alone.
Yeah. But as a solo experience, I think you've seen everything you've seen within about the first 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. There's this, and there's a mode for rings, which is a different scoring type. It's not just getting the ball past a person. You still have to do that, but it's the amount of rings that you shoot the ball through, which is interesting. It's kind of a cool way to play if you're not really into traditional. And then there's the other version where you're kind of on a topsy-turvy Bowser level with item boxes that you can shoot items at the other person, but they're not all that faithful. Like a red shell just kind of swerves. It doesn't really go to the person. And
I feel like they tried to add a few additions to like pad it out, but all of them seem like, I don't know, not very substantial time wasters to the core game, which, yeah, I'd say if you're playing this by yourself, you're getting pretty bored pretty fast.
Yep. What's wild is the Game Boy Color Mario Tennis. I think that came out first.
Yep, I think you're right.
And there was like an RPG mode in that where you played like a story.
And golf too, right?
And you build stats and stuff like that. And the same company made this, and they've made every tennis game since, I think. And everybody's been clamoring for that. I want that again. And they've slowly added stuff like that in. I think this last one Aces has like different stats that you can get on your stuff and upgrade. But coming off that into this, boy, I don't know. They must have just been learning how to do a 3D game or something, and then we're just like, this is all we could do. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like the template engine to somebody who's going to be designing a tennis game, and like it's kind of as far as they took it. But I think, like you said, maybe that's all they needed, right? Like it was about the multiplayer experience. Like you could even make the argument for things like Smash Brothers, right? Like if you're jumping into Smash 64 by yourself, that's kind of a shallow experience. But you put 4 people there, and like all of a sudden, you've got a weekend.
There's a decent 1-player kind of mode in Smash.
Yeah,
Mario Kart kind of has cups, interesting.
Well, this has tournaments.
It does, but it's not.
It feels very shallow because like you're just watching the tournament board tickers, like win, lose, move up. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't actually feel like the game's going to get harder.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you do battle a guy on hard, boy, it just increases the volley time,
right?
For the most part.
Yeah, you can only make it so difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because they just didn't put enough depth into the shots or like mechanics to make it any more than like a twitch reflex game. And it's not that twitch because it's pretty slow. It runs at probably 30 frames per second.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a speedy game.
You can cover some ground, and it's usually pretty forgiving on how close you are to the ball where you hit it's not that much more looser than a Wii Sports tennis, I would say.
What was your go-to character?
Oh, you got to play Waluigi in this.
You're a sick son of a bitch, you know
that? I did play a lot of Donkey Kong because I love that era of his voice in 64. I think it's the same exact sample from Mario Kart. They were just using the same audio samples. It's pretty good.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Right.
Yeah, I'm a big Boo fan because I'm just like, why wouldn't the ghost with no legs be the best tennis player? Like it only makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then you get his weird cackle when he wins. So.
I wonder. So Birdo was also in here, and I wonder if that was like the first
playable.
kind of like Mario 2 reference, because I don't know if Shy Guys have been around before this. They were never in Mario 64, were they?
Maybe not, but they were in Paper Mario by then.
Sure.
Of course, that was end of console.
That was late. Yeah.
This.
Just trying to think of like what was the first, like, we're gonna integrate Mario 2 into
it's probably the first acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Is it being canon, which is funny. When you think about it.
All because Yoshi needed a partner again. Yep. I don't know who the unlockable characters are, though. I never did look them up.
No, and I didn't want to find out.
No.
There are two. It's taking too much effort to figure it out. But yeah. Well, what do you give it then on the Byron Burnett scale?
This is hard because I think they could have done more with this game.
Right.
I don't expect a lot from a tennis game. Like, it should be tennis. But I feel like they should have done more to this, especially for one player to do something.
Yeah. Even like a town hub, right? Even if the menu was just like a virtual 3D hub world, that might have been enough.
Or challenges, or, you know, certain things, or just weird different things that you could do, but that would even like tutorialize different things. There's nothing like that in there. It's straight up, hey, play tennis.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna burn it. The tennis is fine, and it's probably pretty good multiplayer, and it was probably good back in the day, but right now, no good.
Wow. Man, I'm the official N64 hater, and I'm going to give it a rent because I think with 4 people, this would be fine. I think that is the only context in which it would be fine.
That's the only part where I would say maybe I would bump it up. But
I would argue that in a rental situation, you're probably doing a sleepover or have a buddy over.
Okay.
And then it would work. But any other context, it deserves a burn. It's just the laziest copy paste of an IP onto a pretty boring sport for the sake of like padding out a release schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rough.
You're going to play GoldenEye. You're going to play Mario Kart. You're going to play wrestling. You're going to play Smash Brothers before tennis.
100%. Yes. 100%.
The sleepover is covered.
Yeah. This is like when your weird friend comes over, your weird cousin. Look at this game I got for Christmas. Like, all right. Yay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had a nephew who got weirdly into the Wii U one.
Which that one isn't super fleshed out either. So.
No, I don't think so. And yeah, he was really, really got into it.
Huh. I own that one. I played a little bit of it, but it felt not
fine,
all that much more deep than this. So
yeah.
Sports games though, on the 64 especially. What are we expecting?
The problem is they didn't put amazing tennis. It's not amazing. It should be amazing right in the name. Mario's Amazing Tennis.
With that logo. You gotta have that logo. Well, I think that wraps another episode.
Yeah, it does. Join us next time where we do Mario Golf, Mario Sport, and Mario Baseball. Baseball one's great. I love the baseball one. Bring back
the GameCube and Wii baseball ones are good. Yeah.
A hockey one, like people have said, would be pretty cool, but I don't think they'll ever do a hockey one.
Soccer's as close as we got.
Yep. You can find us on email, mostly on weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. Yes. We're also on Twitter, I guess.
For now.
For now. It's still up. Still
we
working.
We have lots of options on Twitter clones, but
we're going to let them come to us.
We'll be waiting a while.
Yeah. We're sorting out the brand deals, and then we'll make a decision later. But until next time, be kind, rewind.